Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I'm Andy Signore. We're live reacting to John Campea. Just did an impressive interview with Marc Fernandez. I got a lot of thoughts on it, but I wanted to do this live, just talk, because so many of you keep asking me. I've stepped into this drama, it seems. And the reason I've stepped into this drama, I want to clarify, it's because you guys have been clicking on it more than anything else of my stuff. It seems to be the only stuff YouTube wants to promote. And so I'm here trying to do it. And what's been really fascinating is I know a lot of new members and subscribers have found me because it's been suggested next to Campea's videos and stuff. And because a lot of those people still won't have me on to let me say my side of things and try and apologize and do some things that I wish I could just do. There's still a lot of grudges out there that won't, listen. So, look, the real reason a lot of I've been doing this story is because it's getting out to a lot of you that I know haven't found me. So if you found it because of the algorithm, thank you. I hope you'll hear me out. I'm trying to be honest here, but not too harsh. Honestly, my initial thoughts on this interview, it was definitely better. It was definitely better than what Marc did the first time. For those that don't know, quick recap, Collider canceled a bunch of their programming, live program, popular stuff, and they did it just very willy-nilly without any thought, it seems. And then one of Collider's people, this guy named Jack, said these really terrible, unprofessional stuff, sort of really knocking not only everybody who worked on Collider, but all the fans. And that really started angering people, and that's when sort of the drama and everything sort of started happening. And then Marc did a town hall, which was just disastrous, if you ask me. John Campea then stepped in, did an interview with him just an hour or so ago, and I think John said some smart things. Most of my takeaway is still trying to figure out why they're doing it. Why did John bring Marc in? Aside from the obvious answer of, well, views, numbers, clearly, I think that's why we're all doing it. But I also think beyond that, it's beyond just the views, which he got a lot of, and congrats. I really do think, if I can guess, John obviously feels very, the Collider brand is his baby. It's something he built. I can relate to that, of stuff I've built. You don't want to just go away and be destroyed because some guy made a terrible business decision. John wants to make sure that Collider can flourish, and he could be proud of, I made that. And if it doesn't make anything good, then he didn't make that, right? And so I totally relate, and I respect John for trying to step in and try and smooth this over and help Marc, because Marc, let's be honest, he needs help right now. It's clear from his town hall he needed a lot of help from the decisions, and I think he seems to be clearly a smart business guy. He did a lot of that stuff, but I think he lost focus of how to handle and keep the talent in, and also the fan base, which he admitted to on this interview. So overall, if you guys got questions, hit them up because we're live here. I'll try and comment them. There are a few things I called out and I wanted or made notes of. And I have the video here if you guys haven't seen it. We're going to watch a couple clips of it. We can sort of react, but look, this isn't drama alert. People keep saying, Andy, why do you have any business in this? Because I ran a pretty successful YouTube movie channel. I knew a lot of these guys. I know a lot of this background. And because I'm out of that whole game, I have insight. And I don't care about hiding anymore. And it's not that it's drama or spilling tea. I feel like this is insight. You guys are watching it. And that's why I'm doing it. I don't want to keep doing these Collider videos forever. I hope this is the end of it. It seems like this is the last drama. But because Campea did such a good job, I wanted to respect and show Campea that respect, because I thought it was pretty fair the way he had Marc on. As I'm going through my notes, I understand why John had Marc on. It made total sense, and I applaud John for getting Marc to come on and for being fair, respectful, asking him the tough questions. It then did become a little bit of a puff piece towards the end of asking Marc his ambitions, and it ended nicely because John wanted to be professional, and I respect that. But I still don't understand why Marc did it. I still think, John said it himself, Marc desperately needs a PR team to help him. He doesn't really know how to handle this sort of stuff. And I think John did a huge service for him by helping to sort of, here are the things you're supposed to answer, dude. Answer them correctly. Let me help lead you a little bit. Oh, great. You answered them better. Awesome. All right, let me set up what you're doing. And John sort of doled some advice that he sort of even politely was like, look, you don't have to take this, but since you're here, here's my thoughts. And I think he had some strong advice for him. Overall, that's my 2 cents on this matter. I think what was interesting is, if you watch, and I want to play with you guys, because if it was interesting, I'd heard some of this stuff,
greetings and salutations over,
but I didn't realize how bad the beef was.
I believe the last time Marc and I were in the same room talking to each other, literally Christian Harloff had to throw himself between us and physically separate us. That's not an exaggeration, by the way, guys. That is the last time Marc and I have been in a room together and actually speaking to each other. It has been over 2 years. And I tell you that not to set the stage for drama, but so you can understand the context of what's going on in this room right now. I just want you guys to to understand that and what's going on.
I mean, right there, I appreciate the candidness, but it is to help inflate the drama a bit because this is clearly like whoa. I think even people in the space, we knew like, whoa, Campea and Fernandez are going to do a talk on his channel live. There was a little bit of, could it go off the rails? Could something be said that couldn't be unsaid? That's why that chat was filled with a lot of people. You saw a lot of big channels in that chat. Some of us just had the balls to chime in and chat. I'm sure there were a lot of ghosting channels in there watching and not chiming in because they wanted to see what was going to go down. Because look, whatever John thinks of me, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, I respect John. John's a big figure in this space. And I do appreciate that John sort of keeps out of the drama more often than not. He doesn't get into it. He does do it occasionally. And I wish he would, since he did call me out originally. I wish he would talk to me. I would be open to it, John. I think it could be a really interesting conversation like you do with Marc. And you can totally put my feet to the fire. I wish all these people would do it to me to my face, like he sort of did in the beginning to Marc. And so I respected that John did that. Let's get to sort of that part because I think that was sort of interesting. As he sort of apologizes or sets it up for him. And
you guys did the live stream.
He sets the history up. And he admits that he didn't like...
I wrote to you and I proposed to you.
He said that the live stream was disastrous and that he shouldn't have done it. So John admitted even that to Marc, and apparently texted him afterwards that was not a good call, dude. Someone should have told you not to do that. And John is right. Marc could have done it under better production, like producers handling it or PR teams helping him. But Marc admitted he only went with a list of people to thank and didn't really have any other idea or agenda. And you can't go live on your sort of comeback apology and then not apologize, and then not look, and then not have any sort of prep on what to do. So it's clear even Marc admitted just was a bad thing. So that's why John sort of apparently texted him and suggested this.
Listen, I see what you're trying to get at. What would you think? You don't need to, but what do you think about coming on my show? And let's address some of the issues that came up as a result of that town hall. All right. Mm-hmm. So I've got several specific questions for you.
Sure.
That I'd like to give you the opportunity to.
Can I say one thing?
Sure,
about
absolutely.
About the context of the town hall.
Yeah.
So when I sat in the room that we had shot Collider Live, that I had done Rule of Two for a year in 72 episodes with Riley, the only thing I really brought with me to that room was the names of the people. I didn't have a lot of notes or bullet points or stuff like this. I wanted to be as unguarded as possible because my true intention was to have a dialogue with the audience. And it became very difficult to have a dialogue with the audience because there was so much going on in the chat. But there also was a lot of support in the chat and a lot of anger in the chat, which I understood. But in my kind of brain, I wanted to walk in there as unguarded as unguarded as possible so I can try to be as genuine as possible. And I understand in retrospect that it was messy,
It's still
but
messy.
I still feel like I
still
tried
messy,
to be
man.
honest about the situation. But I'm sorry, continue. But I just wanted to
No, I
throw that in
appreciate
there
that.
This
because
is the problem, guys. It's like, look, he's not built. I don't even mean to knock on Marc. I don't know Marc. I don't have any beef with Marc. Only thing I've heard about Marc is he refused to have me. I've heard from people. I wasn't allowed to be talked about on Collider when I was coming back. He refused to allow anyone in air to talk about me. The higher ups did not want it to happen. So look, that frustrates me. I wish, but at the same time, I don't know the guy. It's not really. I wouldn't work there. The only reason that frustrated me is because he let people talk about my downfall, but then not my return. So that was hypocritical to me. And that's the only thing I've sort of, in the beginning, people have called me out, Andy, you're aggressive. No, that still stings a little bit. I don't have a problem. If you wanted to call me out when it happened, okay. But then have the decency to have a conversation with me now. That's all I'm asking for. And I hope people can at least support, like, look, let's just have a conversation. I'm not saying to praise me or support me, but you called me out. Let's have the conversation now that I can speak. And Marc wouldn't let Collider do that. So that is frustrating. And Marc, I would be happy to have that conversation with you anytime. You can reach out. I don't want to keep piling on to Marc. I think it's clear Marc shouldn't be on camera. Marc is not ready for it. He doesn't have the PR training for it. He doesn't have a plan. He wants to be genuine, honest, but he doesn't know how to sort of handle himself in that sort of setting yet because he doesn't have the experience to do so. And it sounds like he should just remain behind the camera and do sort of the things he's excited about. And that's what it is. The problem is he put himself in this situation, and now he has to sort of keep putting it out. And now in every appearance he's doing, he's justifying the previous appearance. And to show up on Campea's show, who you clearly didn't keep. Like, how you got to sort of see this from a perspective of this is a win for Campea. Huge win for John Campea. No one else is going to sort of say this, but it's true. John Campea got him to come in and kiss the ring and say, look, yep, I did it all. Tell me the respect. Show it to me. Sure. And then John was very nice and I think respectful back and helped him sort of help him, because that makes John look good too. And I think John is a genuine person who wants to make sure the brand and Marc are okay. But clearly, as admitted, they had a lot of tension, a lot of beefs between each other. And I think this was an interesting opportunity for John to get a huge win, and to Marc come in, tail between his legs and apologize to the fans, because John has them in his hand right now. John, Christian at SCN, me, several channels have gained a lot of subscribers since Collider's demise. So we're all sort of reveling in it and excited about that. But it comes with a price, right? Because look, I don't want Collider to go away. I liked John Roca and some of his people doing that stuff. They should have a venue to do their show. That show was around for a long time and could have sustained itself in a smaller, more independent manner. So the fact that Marc couldn't keep John, couldn't keep any of it, it's not a good look. And so Marc's got to do defense, right? So Marc's here trying to justify it, and still, he's not even able to justify the previous mistake. Now he's already making additional mistakes, and that's why you want a PR team to help you. If you guys are ever in trouble, hire a PR team. I know a great one. It's called judgepr.com. They helped me a lot. But getting the word out there and sort of making sure you're prepared for sort of questions and what to do, you got to do that. Any professional knows how to do that. So that's the problem. And I feel for Marc, because I do think it was a business decision. I think it was clearly what he did. And he acknowledges later in the stream, because we can watch some of it more, but there's a couple points I want to show. He does acknowledge in the stream that he made the mistake of not realizing how serious the fan connection was and how important it was to sort of give them one last final show. That the final show, as John pointed out to him, John did this very well. John said, look, the final show isn't for you. You said you wanted to pull the Band-Aid off and you're bad at goodbyes. It's not for you. It's for the fans. And he's absolutely right. If you built that community, he sort of lost focus of that community because it wasn't as big as he wanted it to be, I think is what happened. Marc saw that and was like, damn, this sucks. It used to be so much bigger. Now it's smaller. We can't afford it anymore. Let's just cut it in the new year. We're going to refocus our energy. And look, he has every right to do that. The way he went about it just completely disrespected the fans, gave them no respect at all. And now he's trying to save face and trying to win back the fans. And he's having trouble doing it because he's not a personality like John, like a lot of people out there who are, obviously going to be doing this a lot better than him. So now he's trying to come back and make things up. And that's the problem with this whole interview of like, yes, respectful. It was good. I thought John asked some tough questions.
I can see it now upon reflection. I'm like looking at it, and obviously I can never look at that video again. But when I look at that video, I'm like, I didn't really walk in there with like, an expert PR plan.
Right.
So.
Which is why one of the things that I wrote to you was that one of the things I said to you is like, look, all due respect to anybody who's giving you counsel or whatever around you, I never would have let you done it. I never would have let you done it.
And you gotta look again. Let's pull from the curtain because clearly whatever. But I gotta be honest, John must be loving this. This is his old boss who took over the brand that he doesn't have anymore, and now John is way more successful. Kudos, John. And John gets to have his boss sit down on that chair and get lessons from him. I mean, like, think whatever you want of John Campea, but that move was just like, of course John's going to have him on. So this was a massive win for John. When you just watch it like that perspective of John, look at him. He's even like has him on a lower seat. I don't even think that was intentional, but just it. I don't think John's even that vindictive or me, but it's like, it's still got to feel a little good to know, like all the times they came to blows, him and Marc, Marc needs to come to him now to sort of learn the ways of online channels. It is remarkable. And it just it's a very power move by John Campea because he can control this. What's Marc Fernandez going to do? He can control this. So you got to give props to that for John for seeing this, taking that advantage, getting that score and keeping it.
And I can almost imagine you there as you did so many times when we were working together, giving me that face and saying, we're not doing this, I can see that.
Yeah, see, so Marc's even acknowledging,
let's get into some questions that
I got to let John be the boss here now.
As a result of that town hall. One of the things that
egos, man, it gets in the way of everybody.
Completely misjudged and miscalculated the ramifications, not between me and my beloved employees that I had worked with for so long, and I think we had a very good symbiotic relationship with. I didn't appreciate the reality of the relationship between the community and those folks that I had let go as deeply as I maybe should have, and in retrospect, it's something that I didn't calculate. Look, and what it is, it's a massive, 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 massive learning, experience, because
Look, these are shows that didn't perform well. Let's be honest. These shows, once Christian left and Campea left, and respect to Schnepp, I think a lot of people left after Schnepp's the tragedy with him. Look, the channel was starting to, and he knew it, and so now he has to apologize for cutting out the trash in his mind. And so this has got to be brutal for Marc, because I don't believe he wants failure or would fire those people. He wants success, like everybody does. But for him to have to now come back home, and as I saw really funny in chat where I lost it. It was from Key Shannon Bright. Oh, Campea is drinking Marc's milkshake across the room. It is. It's totally what's happening right now. This is There Will Be Blood YouTube movie edition. It's crazy. And kudos from Marc for realizing he needs to go to these places. Of course he does. He needs the public interest to sway back, or his brand's going to start being really bad. He's going to need to wait a long time, and then when new stuff posts, it's going to get trashed no matter what, and then he's going to have to wait again. There's going to be a cycle there of people who are just going to trash it. Trust me, I'm still going through the cycle of trash and suddenly people trying to respect me again. So he's going to have a tough time. Once the tide turns on you, you got to really earn it back. You got to earn it back, and it takes time and it takes actions. And I think in this instance, Marc is trying to get those quicker.
It makes me relook
by showing up
this
at these
entire space, because even on my little limited experience on Rule of Two,
it just shows he doesn't know that much about the digital space. Sorry, Marc, it just doesn't. And that's why you don't do these interviews, because you're showing your weaknesses out loud. Now, people see you as someone who's not as good as John Campea. And that's the problem, if I'm being real with you, because that's what I'm here to do, is be real. Who am I to say whatever? Look at me. But still, it's conveying the power, right? That's what our president does very well, whether you like it or not. And it's
cut right or wrong.
Well, you got to take accountability. Marc's just given up too much of the farm by giving credit everywhere. He's throwing credit everywhere but himself, except for when it's money and things he controls. Those are the things that Marc has been very good at pointing out at what he does. And so that's the mind here of Campea, slick, smart, knows what he's doing. The optics are all on Campea, and that's why he probably doesn't ever want me on the show, which is a bummer, because I'm not looking to out-optic Campea. I do need to come hat in hand to sort of help get my name out there, because it's been tarnished. I don't want to go there and bash Campea on his show. That would not work well for me. It wouldn't work for anybody. But I think Campea fully knew, having him on live and do this, the pressure's on Marc to perform, and it's an opportunity for Campea to look like the boss, which is spot on. Here we go.
And I appreciate.
He's also feeding a lot of. Marc's just feeding a lot of stuff that he's hearing and reading online. You got to also remember, because now it's been several times. He's admitted to reading all the tweets. I'm sure he's going to watch this video. Marc, I'm sorry, but I have a conversation. Let's do it. But he seems like the type. He's admitting it, that he's going to keep doing that.
I
want to go to this point, but because I don't want to do this for 2 hours and watch the whole thing.
Understanding of what the fans want and how the fans feel. It's actually something that might be very valuable to businesses like ours, because I didn't have that counsel to say, hey, a final episode is actually something that that we absolutely need. We won't be able to move on, and the pain is going to be worse than the gain.
A tough lesson to learn.
What does he do? What does Jack? If you're mostly on the revenue side,
this is what I'm going to get to. So John rightfully pushes back on why is this out of focus? Pushes back rightfully on Jack Hine, the guy who was very disrespectful about all the stuff. And
I'm just curious, why would it be that some people perceived him as kind of a number two, as was communicated to me by what does he do there?
That's a very good question, a very fair question. I think because when we have sponsorship programs and stuff and responsibilities to our brand partners to deliver certain things for sponsorships, those tasks get assigned to Jack. So Jack has to kind of make sure that those things are executed. And when there's a show and there's a sponsorship for a certain brand, and that sponsorship needs to have things read at the top, things read at the bottom, placements in the thing, and whatever, he helps make sure that gets done. So that can seem like
he's not the number two.
This thing about the inner working of my company.
Yeah, and I don't want you to have to go too. Well, I think a lot of people wanted to know, what did Jack get for saying the stupid things he said. I actually appreciated very much, because that was the professional thing to do, and I appreciated that. However, I think what a lot of people would want to know, even in light of the fact that it was appropriate not to discuss what disciplinary action was taken.
He keeps pushing
I think a lot of people would at least like to know, because it wasn't just a dumb thing to do for the company. Because you putting out these tweets and you're talking to some beloved characters like a. I think it's fair for a lot of people to ask, was there disciplinary action with Jack?
So yes, there is disciplinary action with Jack, and like I said, I do.
Absolutely fair question to ask, and it's like, sure, you don't want to get into specifics, okay, but he disrespected all of us. We need to know what's happening as he learned, and I would have loved to hear from him. But guess this.
Keep that internally, and I'm a big believer in giving discipline. Look, it's not like, okay, this is. I'm trying to be as honest as possible here without giving the inner workings of my company and violating what I believe are personal situations.
Get to it.
But if let's just take a hypothetical situation, okay? Let's say that you have an employee who does poor work and that does something that is
goes on for it, but he sort of says like everybody deserves a second chance. You got to ask them, did they have remorse?
Was a tough.
Did they do good work? He's right. You don't just fire. I don't think anyone wants Jack to just be fired. I don't. That's canceling him for saying something stupid. He needs to show remorse. He needs to show that he's still good and he understands what he did wrong, and then he's going to adapt his attitude.
Situation, and I'm probably speaking about it a little bit more than I should, but because even though it's completely behind the scenes, it's completely in a supportive role. It's not in a managerial role at all. There are no direct reports into Jack at all. And you know Collider, you know a lot of the folks that work there. There's a lot of managers at Collider. I mean, Collider, like you've said, is a big operation, you know, and there's a lot of managers there.
Your own horn
Jack
there,
doesn't manage anybody except carrying out these sponsorship plans. And, you know, for me, it's like
I'm trying to get to
a
the point.
big believer that if the value exceeds the issue, and I've had other issues at Collider as well where I've had to make the same exact decision.
To be clear, it's not like, as harsh as I was on him, deservedly so, it's not like he ran out into the sidewalk and beat a child with a baseball bat in the street. I mean, just to be clear,
yes,
right?
Yeah. And look, and I think, and to be honest, I listened to your entire video, and I understood your anger. And I thought you were right to be angry because you were expressing a lot of the anger that I had. Because, you know,
there's a part of me that doesn't buy that because I believe Marc, before all this drama happened, I believe Marc probably shared. That's because where did Jack get it from? I believe Marc probably shared a little bit like, come on, I've been paying for this for 2 years. Where's the thank you? That felt like something a higher up like a Marc would say. Now, again, I don't know, but this could be now, I shouldn't have said that. Now he has regret in thinking that, but I don't know. It feels like that might have been something he could have thought.
It was, I mean, there's no way to justify it. It was absolutely dumb. You know, it is what it is. But my point is, I also have to be true to who I am. And if somebody has done enough work that nobody sees in front of the camera,
he's right. Don't fire him. Noted.
The contemplator. I mean, Twitter has become a place where it's very easy to just pile on and
the
see
point
red,
is,
and you see red.
I'm trying to get to the point.
Red.
Jack wanted to apologize.
The folks that see blue,
and so he wanted to apologize, and the quote I was trying to find, sorry, it's hard to get it exact. Marc told him not to.
So given that there was so much anger, which is deserved, I felt that, you know, anything would just exasperate. My Hispanicness is coming out. I have some trouble with this word. Exasperate.
Yeah.
Exasperated the situation, and I didn't want that. So it was my choice, you know. And while I was being counseled by
his choice to tell Jack not to apologize,
like by, you know, my social media manager, you know, Dorian Parks, or somebody I respect greatly, that maybe he should give a public apology, and he had written one, and people read it, and it's just like I'm the one that felt, you know, at this time anything is just going to make the situation worse, and maybe again that's a miscalculation on my part. You know?
It was. So just to wrap up, because I missed the beginning of it right when I wanted to start. Jack Hine, the one who basically started a lot of this drama, aside from Marc not properly doing a finale, Jack then spit in everybody's face online, and Jack made a mistake, and Jack then wanted to apologize, and Marc said no. Twitter and everybody's already too mean. It's a cesspool. It's only going to make things worse. And then John goes and says, well, yeah, you're probably right, but John's correct. And I would go even harder. Of course you got to do the apology, because if you don't do the apology, you're always going to have that thing. And now Jack's career is affected even worse. Like, I wish I could have come out with my evidence and explained myself sooner. So for Marc to tell Jack he couldn't apologize, ooh, that's rough, man. You're making it way harder on Jack. Jack's already blocked. Jack's done. Like, Jack absolutely needs to apologize to the fans for what he said, and he should go on a show or something and talk about it. He probably needs to take a little bit more time to sort of mature, but I wouldn't let him wait any longer. Jack owes us an apology, and I don't support firing him. I don't know the guy. He did weirdly. Someone reminded me he was a fact checker on Movie Fights, like in the second to last episode before I ended, and I wasn't there. Alicia hosted it, so that was my connection to Jack Conner. I just forgot, and he was following me. I didn't know it, but I don't know him. I don't know him from Adam, and I don't wish him firing or ill will. I just think he said some really stupid stuff, and he needed to take that humble pie. It sounds like he has, and we should offer the chance for him to apologize. So for Marc to have kept that from us, that doesn't sit well with me. That doesn't sit well with me. I think that's frustrating. I want to get to one more point before we wrap things up, and if you guys have any comments, I see a lot of things. Let me know. I'll try and get to some of them as we wrap up. But there was another point where John then moves on to sort of ask, well, Marc, what do you see as the future of Collider?
For me, it's almost like, I not to give too much sunshine to myself, but what I would want to do is kind of like the HBO of movie news. Like I love the idea of building long form documentaries, and we have a bunch of those that
look. What? So he goes off and says that that was perfectly timed, but he says that John Campea wanted to be the ESPN movies and Harloff wants to be the Howard Stern of movies, and both of which are doing that. I think Campea is owning sort of the news, talking to news to camera. Harloff's now building, definitely feels like a radio morning show with his crew and guests, and he's got the mics and he's all talking to people. He likes to interact with people. Campea likes to sort of be there, report the news and talk about it, interact with his fans. So I do agree there's two different styles that Christian and John are doing, and so I understand the the connections, but then the HBO of movies. I mean, HBO is the HBO of movies. No, ESPN has 30 for 30 long form content. Screen Junkies, which I was helping to push us towards, doing documentaries now with Fandom, their Galaxy Quest thing and stuff. What is he talking about? There's a lot of people out there doing in documentaries and stuff. And I'll be honest, Marc, be careful. That is a very costly and dangerous area to get into. You want to talk about revenue? Sure, that's what we were always chasing. When every company I ever worked was chasing that. How do we get the TV show and the movie and the Netflix deal? And da-da-da-da. How do we make content that's successful online that could jump to that and make us even more revenue? Blah 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 blah. Notice a lot of those companies aren't there anymore. Notice College Humor just went under because it couldn't sustain its production for doing really high quality stuff. That was a bummer. Sam Reich, who runs that division, is a brilliant genius, more than most of us. And if you ask anybody who's worked with him, they love him to death and will do anything. Everyone from Saturday Night Live is gone there, everything. So my point is, like, and even that has now fallen down. He has to do it independently, and he's now they cut all the funding. And he's trying to do it himself independently, which I hope he can pull off, because College Humor was a bummer to hear. But come on, dude, what? You're firing off of these little cheap shows to then invest in bigger documentary things? Like, what planet are you on? I'm sorry. Like, that's just, I don't get it. I mean, lofty goals, but you had a brand that was working pretty well. If you wanted to restructure it, then restructure it. Put it down in a room and say, we can't afford it, so we're going to do one show a day, one host who's also a producer. You could have scaled it down. I'm doing this by myself. People have, one or two staff members. There's no reason Marc couldn't have figured out a way to make that show more sustainable for fans, just to keep the fandom going, to have a brand that was working. So I don't get this sort of his future. And for sort of Campea there to just nicely let him sort of say this out, sure, but and Campea's not going to tell him that's stupid to his face. But I don't know what he's thinking with the future of Collider. I mean, cool.
There's young
prove me
people
wrong, but
to follow
it seems crazy. And then he would go on. One other thing I wanted to make sure they talked about John's comment noting that there was another talent. Yes, but need to. Yeah, Johns talks about how when John Campea mentioned, like, well, you mentioned that you were competing with me and Christian, and he sort of says, well, that's not true. There's a lot of other ways to do it, yada yada yada, and he's right. But the problem is Marc needed to have talent that could sustain it. And I've said this before. I'm not going to keep trying to repeat and bash anybody in particular, but you need to have a lead who's sustainable, who can actually get to high levels like a Campea did, like Christian did. And, some of those people I don't think could sustain it to a long term. I don't think they will. They're good supporting players. They're not leads. Prove me wrong. But my point is that you need to find like a real big talent who can lead the show, who wants to lead the show. But that's hard to do in this day and age of YouTube because everyone can now do it themselves. So you got to pay a person who's good at enough to do it to then want to do it for you and get paid some of the revenue instead of all of the revenue. So that's why I understand the business decision. Honestly, I understand the business decision. I think Great for John to have Marc on air. John goes off and explains sort of, movie talk and how we shouldn't be competing with each other. And there's 80,000 audience members that we're all sort of jockeying for, and that's not true. He's right. There's so many other movie fanatics out there. Honest Trailers had more audience than all of them watching. So it's like, it proves there were comedic movie going viewers watching, and they're all killing for that. And now Deepfakes is doing pretty well from a standalone standpoint. We'll see how long that lasts. But my point is, you need the views to sustain it, or you need the brand deals. Marc Fernandez did a town hall, which Jody's Corner to loop me in on earlier this year, which I'd forgotten. But he basically sat with everybody and brought in Frosty and Christian and Dennis and sort of just really put the writing on the wall. Like, this has got to get better, or we're not going to be able to do this. And it was it doesn't hold up well now. But he put it all out there, and he revealed something that's very true. The reason Collider sustained itself for a year was because of that awesome Tacular show with Jeremy Johns. I don't know if you guys watched it, but Verizon Go 90 was funding shows. Verizon Go 90 was overpaying platforms for shows that were mediocre at best. I produced some of them over when I worked at my previous employer. They were just seemingly like upgraded YouTube content that with a little bit of a budget. And what every company did was they took that huge budget that Verizon gave them, and then they pocketed a huge chunk of it to fund the rest of the initiatives. And so therefore, the Verizon Go 90 money kept so many companies afloat for like a year or so longer than they should have. And that sort of kept things crazy. And then it gave this influx of cash that they made a show that no one really watched because Verizon Go 90 went, they just threw like millions and millions of dollars away for nothing. And then decided, this is a dumb thing. We shouldn't do this. But that's what sort of then misdirected a lot of these companies. And it sounds like Marc is still in that sort of mindset of, we can get all this money like we did with the Verizon Go 90 deal. Pff, dude, College Humor's gone. Everybody's going under. No, you need sustainable celebrity contacts to build content now, because YouTube's putting things on, you got to be Kevin Hart or Reese Witherspoon to get even shows on air nowadays to produce them. So the landscape's completely changed. And what's frustrating is Fernandez didn't even realize he had a very popular brand that could have sustained itself for a smaller, lower dollar amount. And it's frustrating because he thinks he's got the money. He wants so much money. He lost sight of what the true fans were and that they were there, and that he could have rebuilt it in a stronger, better way. I would have loved to have access to that channel and redo it in a smarter way. There was a big, fervent fan base of people who knew the brand. I do think Frosty does really good scoops and exclusives. The website is very popular if you want breaking news. But someone needed to bridge that gap to sort of figure out, well, how do I manage Frosty? And, he doesn't want to do anything that's going to rock the boat with the contacts, but how do we get those contacts and the celebrities, mix it with what we're doing, and then have some real independent, strong voices? Sorry, some of the people there were very bland. People have said this, and I agree. I think the nerd crew on Red Letter Media has hurt a lot of us, and them, because unless you're really going to call Bill, deliver some honesty, which I'm trying to do in this video for you guys, unless you're going to really come out there, be genuine, and say you don't like things and deal on honesty, it's all just I like, it's Nerd Crew. They were totally making fun of Collider and Screen Junkies News and everything. And so I think that sort of just proved how stale the format was getting. And the only way you're going to beat that is if you're John Campea, who is not even trying to say he's stale, but he's built an audience that will listen to him because of the community he's built. Community is everything in this town and on these platforms. And for Marc, he didn't realize, oh crap, I need the community, don't I? Crap, I didn't want to use the community, but I guess I have to have them. Damn it! So I'm going to go on Campea's show and kiss the ring, and that's what we just witnessed. So. That's my overall takeaway from this chat. I see a lot of you sending stuff in there. It's hard to get through them all. So thank you so much for the support and comments there. And I hope that my insight sort of helped you. I'm where they go, I don't know. I don't want to keep talking about this subject anymore. I feel like I've beat it to death, but you guys keep clicking on them, so that's why I did it. And if you found me because of it and you tuned through all this, please hit that subscribe button or join. You can become a member. I'm putting out some cool exclusive videos there that you can see sometimes. And I got my Films of the Decade series, which you can see annotated here at the end, as well as live Nerd Wars is coming back this Thursday, not tonight, but next Thursday. And I'll be live here on the channel Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays with Jody, Thursdays with Nerd Wars. So tune back, subscribe, do all that stuff. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I appreciate you hearing me out. And I hope Collider figures this out. I do think the brand is valuable. I think it can figure itself out. But I think Marc has some serious humble pie of his own to sort of keep eating. And I think rather than just keep doing this tour, he needs to take a pause. Stop doing anything. Just let it sit for a while. Have a show to promote or figure out a plan and then go out and do the PR. To just come out and be genuine like you're doing, dude, it's not helping matters. It's not. It's helping John Campea. It's helping me. It's helping Christian. But quit helping all of us and focus on the brand you bought that you clearly need to fix and put in at a turnaround. So if he wants to take any advice, it's you did it. Stop talking about it. Stop making us talk about it. And let's all move on. On that note, I hope to have some exciting new stuff, non-Collider related next week and throughout the weekend. So thanks again. Subscribe, join. Thank you everybody for watching it. See you later, everybody. Bye.